Welcome to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, a show where we interview industry leaders and disruptors, revealing the success secrets to create and unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Now your hosts, Thaddeus and Evan.
All right. Welcome back to another HVAC Secrets Revealed.
Second try, although I still don't think we're live. I don't think we're live on my profile or the page, but hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just go with it.
I can see we got viewers, so we're in.
You're gold, but not me. So I will share from your page, so wherever I need. So
all right, sounds good. Welcome back, everyone, to HVAC Success Secrets Revealed, where we have good conversations with good people, and any good conversation worth having is worth having drunk or high. So welcome, everyone. Cheers to you.
That's a badass tagline right there. Drunk or high. all day.
I had to add that in for you, brother, because I know you don't drink anymore. So,
but I do smoke.
I mean, when you're from Cali, you kind of have to, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Ish, to the show this week. Thank you so much for joining us, my friend. For those of you that do not know, Ismael Valdez, he is the owner and president of Nexgen Air. He is the Professor X himself. This year alone, on pace to do $60 million in revenue, which is a huge number. But I know something you take a lot of pride in too is not just putting up big numbers in revenue, but also big numbers in profits now, since you got that figured out. So I can't wait to get into that this show. But one of the things that I marvel at and I'm incredibly impressed by is your journey going from working in a supply house, from the back end there, to working on the front counter, to then moving into actually running another company with someone else, that not working out, and then starting your own company. All along the way, the one thing that you have been tremendously skilled at is working with people. So I'd love to hear more about where that came from, your journey through that process of going from the supply house to where you're at now. And anything else you want to share to start us off? Go for it.
Oh, well, I'm gonna let you guys lead on it, but honestly, like we were talking about earlier, it's been a journey. It's definitely hasn't been as easy as most people would think. Going especially with this type of growth, but yeah, dude, I've gone through the ups and downs of the growth of the business, and one thing that I did realize that I really, really love to do is I honestly genuinely love to work with people. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could tell you this right now, I am never ever the smartest dude in the room. I try to learn every freaking day, and I know you made a comment earlier on the other one that we were trying to record, but the intro that we made was being a student. We might be able to edit it right too, because that was a really good intro too. Is being a student. I pride myself on that. I pride myself on always being the student. Like I said before, I'm still up to this day. Even I think even when I reach my goal of 100 mil, like I'm still, you know, I'm trying to get a hold of Dave Guy. We're trying to get a hold of Jimmy Hill, or trying to get a hold of this new guy Gus from Milestone. Like I'm trying to like still get on the phone with these guys and ask them questions. Today I had the honor to have a little 15-20 minute conversation with Dave Geiger himself after I heard his podcast. And dude, just the little nuggets that he throws that most people, and this is the harsh reality, most people would hear him and not take anything from it. They'll just take a conversation with them. But the little metaphors that he uses, the story that he told me earlier today, just those things are like what fucking drives me nuts, is that not knowing like all the different angles in the business, and being able to like pick up the phone and talk to these guys, and them throwing those curveballs at you, or like, dude, that's what I live for, man. Like I love that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, and it was funny when I was listening to the Service Titan episode that you were on. You had talked about how like you weren't a big reader. You didn't like being a part of like these mastermind groups and things like that. But you're not scared to pick up the phone.
Nope.
And also your ability to learn and implement and make quick course corrections based off of the mistakes you're making.
Yep.
Right. So many times, I see it all the time. We came from sales before, both Thaddeus and I, and like everyone's into professional development and, you know, personal help and all that stuff. But if you don't implement the shit that you learn, then what's the point in doing it? You're just wasting your time.
Dude, I am probably the biggest fucking advocate of that. Like, I do that. Like, I've toured, like, people flown from all over the United States here to watch Nexgen, and I get to spend a couple hours of my time with them. Like, I fucking make it clear to them. Like, number one, don't waste my time, because I've never, not one person, like I've been in Bell Brothers shop, I've been in ASI's shop, I've been in Leland's shop, I've been in every Parker and Sons. I spent a day with Josh Kelly, right? Like, by the way, Josh Kelly is a fucking beast. But I spent a day with that dude. Like, I spent like time, Travis Ringy, like I spent a day with that dude too. Like, I make it clear to them, dude, I am here to fucking learn. I am not here to waste your time. I am here to, there's something in the business, and there's a reason why we're in the same room, why we're having this interview. I am in the fucking business of learning and implementing. Like, that is my whole business. I learn, I ask questions, I'm the most persistent guy you're ever gonna meet, and I keep going until I get my answer. And then once I grab my answer, I fucking go with it. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Ready for this? I was at Google in 2017, 16, 17. I was at Google. Google flew us in there. They fucking catered to it, all of us, right? It was Jerry, Kenny Bell, myself, Phil from ASI. It was like these big dudes from the industry, right? And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing here? Number one. Number two, I decided that at the time I was drinking, and we're sitting down and watching, and I'm sitting down next to Kenny and Jerry, and they're telling me, hey, Ismael, if you want people to respect you, and I want people to respect me, because what we've done here is monumental to the industry. You have to go and get permits. Like, you got to make sure every fucking job that you do, you got to get permits. You got to finalize them. You got to pay for HERS testing. You got to do what the law requires you to do. That instant, like, trust me, most people would be like, well, let me go back and let me talk to my accounting. Let me see how the pricing and the sales guys, and see if the sales guys are going to be okay with it. And like, right. They fight themselves. Like, 2 seconds after that conversation was made, an email was sent to my management team saying, hey guys, from now on, we're fucking doing permits on every goddamn job. We're adding $980 to our permit costing to cover HERS testing, inspection, all that shit. And this is as of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, that was a Friday night. On Saturday, we were implementing permits. Like, the sales guys were like, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, figure it out.
Right.
We are going to do what's right by the client. We're going to fucking pull permits on every job, because I have a huge target in my back and I don't need these kind of problems. Right. Yep. So that's how fast we implement.
Well, there's two things that I hear out of that is, one, I mean, doing things the right way. CYA, cover your ass, right? That's the big one. If you're going to do everything by the book, you've protected your company. So stop being like a chuck in a truck and actually go do the job the right way.
And charge for it.
And charge for it, right? Make your money on it. You probably put some some markup on that as well, right?
Yep.
So you have that part of things, but the other part is that money loves speed. And we heard this from one of our past coaches, is that the quicker that you can implement shit, the faster you can grow your business. And you go through that, right? It goes and it goes and it goes and it compounds. And it's an exciting thing to be able to see that. And so those are two huge takeaways. But let me ask you this question. You mentioned, hey, you've made a lot of mistakes. And obviously one of our things is to, pull back the curtains and to show what it takes to run the ultimate business. What is perhaps the biggest mistake in business that you have made?
That I have made and that most people are making right now?
Both.
They never had both. I'm telling you both of them right now. The biggest mistake I made was not structuring my management team early on and not having the controls inside the business, like year 1, year 2, year 3, right? Because and you've heard me say this in other podcasts, is Louis Bruno, right? We sat down with Louis Bruno. I had a million conversations with Louis Bruno, right? I was frustrated in year 3 of the business. I should have been at 100. My goal year 3 was supposed to be 50 million. And I only hit 30, like 24, 25 million, right? 25 million, our year 3. And I was fucking frustrated as shit. And he told me something I'll never forget, and that's why we're here. He said, Ismael, you should have been at a $50 million. And the only thing that kept you from doing that is structuring a management team. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, you do everything. The whole business is Ishmael. They need fucking the sales that are going through. You got to prove. Like I'm on the cell. I'm on the phone grinding with the sales guys, role playing with the technicians, with my production manager, making sure we have installs. Like I'm doing all that. He's like, you have to spend the money, right? Adjust your pricing, get your overhead up, like all that. You got to do that, and then you fucking take the next leap. As soon as I did that, the next year, we started sprinting. So what most contractors' biggest problem is, and my biggest problem is, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to have complete control of the company. I wanted to know exactly how many calls. I wanted to know exactly why they're not selling. I wanted to know why the technicians aren't turning. I want to know how many installs, why the installs aren't getting. Like I wanted to know everything, which up to this day I still know it. But now my management team knows it too, and they're making the executive decisions because I was keeping my team from growing. I'm not number one. I'm quick, right? Like I'm super fast at what I do. But if I have 10 Ishmaels working at the same pace, making those executive decisions, going up and down, guess what? That's how you grow faster. So not structuring the management team properly, but inside that management team, there's one person that's super key that I should have had since year one, and I didn't because I didn't know what I didn't know, is having a controller. Mm-hmm. Having a fucking financial controller. And I had an accountant, and the accountant, luckily she's still here and she's an amazing person, and she's helped me out a lot. But all she was doing is accounting for installs, making sure we're collecting money and we're depositing into the bank account. Nobody ever sat down with me and said, hey, Ishmael, you need a controller. The controller has got to give you your P&Ls. Your P&Ls has got to read this way. Your P&Ls got to be structured this way. And by structuring your P&L this way, it gives you the inside of the company where you know exactly what's going on just by reading that piece of paper, and you can make executive decisions every single fucking month on the dot with that paper. Nobody ever told me that. So those two things I would tell everybody: structure a management team like early on, right? And always have a financial controller, man, because trust me, managing fucking money is a fucking art.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and it's funny, that reminds me of a quote that I heard just recently. It was, your superpower becomes your kryptonite, right? The thing that got you to where you were is the exact thing that's going to prevent you from getting to that next level. Yep.
Yeah. I agree with that.
That's amazing. So in terms of the money then, and since we went this way anyways, you made some big changes in that year, right? Yep. Where you looked at restructuring, how can we become more profitable, not just be revenue driven and all about the sale. So walk us through a little bit in terms of what the decision-making was around that and what those shifts were.
And before I go into that story, make sure like people got to know that the pivots that I made on the business were set intentionally because I knew I was growing at a super high speed, right? And I knew that I had to pivot quick in order to like make that transition from like just revenue into profit. I always had a goal in mind, right? Like I needed to structure the base, right? Get a ton of installers, a ton of technicians, a ton of sales guys. Like I knew I had to structure the base and the foundation in order for me to make that quick pivot because I could have been like everybody else. I could have done $1 million my first year. And then my second year, I would have done $1.5 million, and then 2 million, and then 4. And like, I could have done that, but that wasn't my intention. My intention is to get to 100 mil as fast and as healthy as I can. Right. So what made me in 2000 and I think it was 18, we were just growing revenue, not looking at the bottom line. Those executive decisions were made because of that. Like I was able to show, like I wanted to tell a story, and I wanted the story to be correlated with my numbers. And year 1, year 2, year 3, we're fucking growing with the revenue. Right. Year 4 comes around, I pivot fast. Right. And we start looking at every single infrastructure inside the company, like our CSRs, our salaries, our performances based, our contracts, our like how the technicians are getting paid, how installers are getting paid, what our pricing. Like year 4 was my learning, my clear. It literally opened up my eyes to everything. We structured our controller that year. We had some financial help through ServiceTime. Tom Howard was here. So like year 4 was a pivotal moment, but it was meant to, like, if that year wouldn't have happened, guess what? 60 million, 75, $100 million ish Nexgen Air wouldn't have happened either. You know what I'm saying? Because year 4 taught me to slow down the fucking growth and increase the profit just by turning a knob. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Well, and like, it always reminds me of something that I've always said: performance monitored is performance gained. And when you know what your numbers are and you know the details behind that, I mean, I look at it, been in sales my whole life, and I always knew to the decimal point, that what my closing ratio was, and how many first appointment sales it was, how many second appointment sales, how many third appointment sales, and knowing all of that. So that way you can say, okay, well, where are my weak spots, but where are my strengths, and then you can kind of adjust and your course on that. So you took all of those numbers and you were tired of having to go to this source and to this source and to this source and to this source, and you created something to be able to pull all the numbers. Tell us a little about DataCube and how that represented and helped in the pivot of your business.
And DataCube happened, guys. At the beginning, it was only going to be for me because I was like, I want to keep it for myself. I didn't even know people wanted this shit. I'm just gonna put it up on screens and I'm gonna fucking display all the performance and all our information on screens, right? At first, it was for me only, right? Because I've said it before. People were coming in here year 3, right? Our year 3 was like pivotal too, because we started getting attention. Like that's when I started hopping on social media and telling people our story. Like before that, nobody even fucking knew who we were. Like they probably like heard a little noise in the corner, but like nobody like cared to go and check what the fucking noise was, right? So year 3, people are coming in here. This was on the transition to year 4. People are coming in here left and fucking right, calling me and saying, hey, is it fucking true? Is it true? Is it true? Right? And I'm like, yeah, come over. Like I thought to that point, going into year 4, I thought nothing of like, Nexgen's growth is amazing. Like what we've done here was pretty cool. Like nobody has ever done this kind of growth. I've never thought of that until people started getting in my ear and saying, well, you need to tell people the story, right? So I start getting all these high rollers and heavy people from the industry coming in here and asking me all these type of questions like, hey, what's your closing percentage? Hey, what's your average ticket? Hey, how many leads do you have today? How do you generate so many leads? What, like those things, what's your average discount? What's your average, like literally all those things were asked to me. And I'm like, God damn, I don't know. Right? And I'm like, I think I'm supposed to know this because everybody, and I mean everybody, asked me the same fucking question. And I think they were trying to dig into the company, see how healthy it was, see what kind of, and that's where we made the pivot. Like, there was nobody.
How much revenue were you at this point?
Going into year 4, we're hitting 30 million.
Yeah. So at 30 million, still didn't have a dial on those numbers. So just for anyone that doesn't have those numbers dialed in and figured out in their business.
Oh, dude, year 1. You go back to year 1 because year 1, dude, we did $9.8 million our first year. Like I should have had those numbers dialed in already, but I was so fucking focused on like, no, I need more installs, more service, more like I need more revenue. Like I need more gas for the Ferrari I'm building than to like actually like slow the fucking Ferrari, take it to the mechanic, change the tires, put some new brake pads. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that's why year 4 happened to me. The fucking car overheated because we're fucking running 100 miles an hour and nobody was next to me to tell me, hey, there's traffic up ahead. Slow the fuck down, right? So that's why year 4 happened. But because of that, right, we came up with DataCube. And DataCube was originally supposed to be for me only, but everybody started coming in here and they're like, what the fuck is that? Like, how do you get that shit to like work with service time? And then but like our marketing company, Andrew with Ad Leverage, me and him worked on this project the whole time. And Bree was one of our main programmers. Like we started developing the cube because anytime that somebody comes to our building, to our facility to tour around to find out how to grow or to get information, whatever they want, I ask them the fucking questions, right? I ask all those owners like, hey, what's your average ticket? What's this? What's that? How many leads do you get? How much are you spending on marketing? All that shit. And they don't know because I want and I do it intentionally. I want them to feel, and I want them to say, I don't know, because guess what? That's why you're fucking here. Because nobody, and I mean nobody, fucking sat down with me and said, Ismael, this is how you run a fucking business. This is what you need. You need a controller. You need an accountant. You need this. You need that. You need to pay attention to this number. You need to pay attention to that number. Nobody ever sat down. That's why I do what I do.
Yep, 100%. So one thing that, and you mentioned, you threw out a lot of different numbers for a person to look at. And by the way, we did put the link up, datacube.ai. We'll also drop that link in the show notes as well for anybody who missed that or is listening later. Datacube.ai will be in our show notes. But a lot of numbers can get thrown somebody's way, and and you can almost get lost in analysis paralysis by looking at everything. So if you were to take that a step backwards and say, okay, what are my top 3 KPIs, or top 5 maybe? Well, let's go top 3 to 5 KPIs that you want to look at in your business that make the most sense. What would they be?
First of all, you got to know what type of business you have. Okay. So our business is 91% install. Our revenue comes in through the install department, which is through service, turning over leads, or through marketed leads. Right. And I've done that since day one. Our message has been consistent for 5 years. Hey, if you need an air conditioning, you call Nexgen. Like, I didn't even know about I knew about the turnover model, but I didn't want to explore that because the install was the market leads were coming in so lean, right? So to answer the question, you got to know what type of business you are. If you're a service-based business and most of your revenue comes in from the service department, you got to know your fucking average ticket. Like, that is major, knowing your average ticket, because your average ticket will tell you what's going inside the company on the service side, right? Just like on you want to know your average install ticket, you want to know your average service ticket as well, right? And there's 2 different things. Install is obviously for the sales guys. How on your install department, what is the average ticket for them to touch a house, right? That you want to know, you got to know those 2 things. The service technician, what is your average ticket for them to touch that house? And for the install department, driven by the sales guys. So average ticket on both of them. The closing percentage is fucking huge, right? Because it's okay. It's okay if there's 2 ways to make money, right? High volume, low margins. Low volume, high margins, right? So know the type of business that you're in first before you start getting into all these analytics in there. So if your closing percentage is really low, you better have a fucking high average ticket, because you can't feed a machine without having that high average ticket, right? If your average ticket is lower, you gotta fucking have a high percentage closing. You can't have a low percentage closing and a low percentage fucking average ticket. That's what gets you in trouble.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You gotta have either or. Okay. So those 3 things I look at: the closing percentage, average service ticket, average install ticket. Another huge thing that most people miss is like your lead count. Like, dude, you need fucking leads. There's no ifs or buts. Like, the technicians need to have leads, the sales guys need to have leads, and you need to figure out what's your mix and what works for you. Like, we have 21 sales guys here at Nexgen. 21. Like, my nearest competitor is Leland Smith. He has 16 of them. I'm gonna kick his motherfucking ass. Number 1. Number two, like, I know I need leads for him, right? And guess what it takes? Money. You got to spend the money to feed the fucking machine, right? So average ticket, average sales ticket, install or sales ticket, however you're gonna call it, average closing percentage, right? How many leads you fucking got, right? And a huge one. This is the fucking nugget. You got to know where your break even is. Like, nobody fucking understands that. Like, they just think they know, but they don't really know. And that's what goes back to conversation number 1, is like, you got to have a controller. The controller tells you that shit. Like, hey, Ishmael, after fucking marketing, expenses, overhead, salaries, right? You need $1 million, right? Or you need $2 million, or you need $5 million, depending on what your gross profit margin is, right? So perfect example. If my company needs $1 million in overhead, expenses, all that shit, right? If my overhead is $1 million and I sell $2 million worth of shit at 50% gross profit, that's my break even. They got to understand that. Like, our contractors, unfortunately, are not educated to know that.
Right.
And that is why I fucking love bringing people to my shop, and that's why I want to put on seminars in Vegas. I want to, like, go out there and hunt these people, like, to educate them. Like, bro, what they taught me in 2019, everybody in this fucking world should know, right?
Totally.
Know your break even, know your fucking closing percentage, your average install, your average service, know your lead count, right? Like, you gotta, like, an operator knows all that shit. A real good operator has to know that shit. So hopefully I didn't confuse people.
No, I will take the time. I know I got a couple of questions, I'm sure, but I want to quickly drop, because you guys do have an event. I'm going to drop your bit.ly link for it. I'll put that in there just because I tried to actually find the other link, but it was a long ass one. So we'll drop your bit.ly for your Vegas event. So go check that out. You do have a couple good speakers lined up for that too, by the way. Just a couple, Uncle
Tommy
Joe,
Mello.
Tommy Mello, and a bunch of others.
And let me clear that up. That's Uncle Joe's event. He asked me to be a guest on it, and I of course I jumped on it because I want to help more people. But yeah, Uncle Joe's gonna put on a fucking clinic.
Perfect.
Read my lips. He's gonna put on a fucking clinic. This guy dissects the turnover.
Uncle Joe is on our show next week. We have him scheduled. So I think it's next week anyways. So he'll obviously talk about his event there. So going back to, you answered the one question, like, okay, well, how do you find what's a break even now? How do you find that? You already answered that. Get a fucking financial controller and they're going to tell you that shit, right? Simple, right? Get that in place. And it's actually funny, in our business, our big thing is transparency. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, our bookkeeper's been shitty lately. I think I'm going to fire them and hire somebody else because I need to know what our last month was and what our PLs are and what we're doing and moving that forward. And so it was, and it's just bringing that thought full circle, like write the email after we're done the show. I'd write it during the show, but I kind of want to be present. The one thing that you chat about is leads. And you talked a little bit about marketing dollars. I've got two questions. I'm going to ask them together because I think that they can make a lot of sense. Looking at a marketing budget, what is a adequate, good, number, percentage to look at for your marketing? But then at what point do you start to grow away from the simple, Google ads, local service ads, Facebook ads, and start to do more into the overall branding and awareness campaigns and the old school marketing, as what I call it, the radio, the billboards, the print, and those sorts of things. So 2 questions. Hopefully you can unpack both of those.
Of course. So look, it's all gonna come. It's all gonna come to your gross profit margin. Like everybody tells you, spend 8 to 10% or 10 to 12%, and you're gonna grow. Like if you don't have that packed into your gross profit, and you're not like, if you're not making money and you're spending 10, 12, 13, 14%, don't do it. Like you have to understand your fucking financials and when I say that, like I don't want you to go to fucking Harvard and dissect the fucking financial institute, right? Like I don't want you to dissect the whole book of how financing came about, but you just got to be educated so you can make those kind of executive decisions. So what I've done in the past year, there was times when I started in year 1, year 2, year 3, we were tipping over the 12, 13% spend on revenue, right? But I was paying attention to the trends. The trend was telling me that print and newspapers and magazines and coupons and money mailers and all that, it was telling me that's what was generating calls, right? And luckily, the one thing I did have, right? I didn't have a financial advisor. I didn't have a controller at the time. But what I did have was telling me that
You're cutting out here, Ish.
Oh, I think he's lost and frozen in time. Oh, the internet spectrum is you're back. Your video's frozen.
You said the one thing we did have was
service. We knew exactly we were tracking. Yeah, could you hear me?
Well, I think we're losing you again.
So the one thing that we did have. Could you hear me?
Yeah, back now.
I think you're good now.
Okay, cool. So the one thing that we did have, we had our service time set up where we can track the marketing dollars, right? So we knew like, hey, this magazine, we assigned this phone number, we assigned this domain, whatever we assigned to it. So we were able to track it. Like we knew where the marketing calls were coming from, and we knew what was working, what was not working. That helped me out a lot. So on marketing spend it's not a percentage that I would tell people to spend, because dude, I want it's all going to come out to your goals, like what you want in life, right? I know I want $100 million and I want to get there the fastest and most healthiest possible. So I know I got to spend the money to get there. Like whether I do it in a 20-year span and spend the little marketing money and grow steady but slowly, right? Or do I want to get there fast and I want to get there tomorrow? Like right now I have the team to be able to spend 12, 13, 14%, right? I have the team. If I don't have the team, you don't want to spend the gas. You don't want to spend the marketing money. So again, I would recommend if they want to see the hyper growth between 10 and 12% or anywhere upwards of that, right? But the marketing source is just tracking them properly and finding out where the revenue is coming from and making sure that you're able to see, okay, cool. You know, that one freaking magazine, you know, we spent $3,000 on it and we got back 30 grand, you know, that's a 10 ROI. That's pretty good in my books.
Yep.
100%.
Well, and some of it too is like you can track it, but there's also going to be some overflow slosh, and some stuff's going to come from other stuff and like an advertising assist philosophy. But having it, like, you know, the numbers on some of the older school, you know, things and different numbers that, like, some people get lost in the, like, you know, their specific number, right? I want to brand myself around this one number. Well, yeah, you can do that. People are going to, you know, sure. But when people look at something or they Google you, they're just going to freaking click the call anyways. So if you're on all these digital sources, nobody cares about branded numbers anymore.
Can we tell some of my competitors that are stupid enough to think that 833, whatever, fucking, like, dude, come on. Nobody cares. You know why? Because this fucking thing that you're holding on, that I'm holding on my hand, it just fucking, it changed the whole game for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, now it's just, who the fuck are you? What do you do? How can I get a hold of you? That's it. Right?
Yep. Well, and like, and if you do like a good radio jingle.
Yep.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, let me answer the second. Go ahead. My bad.
It's the lag. It's the internet lag time. So we'll let you go. You're the guest.
Okay, so the second part of that question is when you turn down the throttle. I think you turn down the throttle on the marketing and go more of a traditional way. Once your referrals, your fucking customer base is built, your memberships are built, the whole point to scale up is to spend, but then when you're up, right, it's to capitalize on profit, right? And I think it's when like me, I think when I get to a certain part of the business where I need to focus on it and start profiting more, then I kind of stabilize it and start like toning down the marketing and just capitalizing on our customer base, whether it's ringless voicemails, email campaigns, direct mails that are a little bit more cost efficient, right? And it's still going to drive that lead because they've heard us and because we have 200 and plus billboards, or because we've been on TV for 2-3 years. Like, that's when I think, and this is personal, like, you should throttle down on it if that's what you want. If you want to keep scaling up the mountain, guess what? It's going to cost money.
Yep.
100%.
Love that answer.
Well, and it's funny, and I had this conversation yesterday with my son around Fortnite. Like, he's 11 years old, so he's always on the fucking games. But he was talking about like their marketing, and we can have some deep conversations around that. He's run a couple businesses through school already. So creating radical experiences that go viral, as opposed to constantly spending and giving money to the billboards and giving money to like these passive things, and instead focusing on experiences. And it reminded me of Richard Branson, right? And the massive wild experiences that he would do, you know, fucking flying a balloon across the Atlantic and driving a tank down Madison Avenue, right? Like shit like that goes, I mean, if he did that today, it would blow up the internet, right? But yep. I mean, that's the kind of fun things that you can get to when you're running $100 million business.
Yeah,
right.
Because guess what? You still, even if you have $100 million business and you have a $5 million budget, like $5 million can get you a fucking ton of leads, coverage, whatever the fuck it is. You know what I'm saying? But again, it has to go back to number one. Where goes number two? How do you get there? And then number three, like once you get there, you start tweaking and putting the controls in place. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
100%.
Well, and this kind of transitions into the next part that we wanted to talk about, which was something that you mentioned, was talking about chasing happiness and not numbers. I know we're reaching a place in our business now where the money becomes more of a game than a thing that we're chasing. And it's a scorecard. It's how do we create more value? How do we give back more and create other fun experiences for our clients, as opposed to just, you know, taking the money and having to put all of it back into them through generating leads, which you have to do in the beginning.
I mean, you're preaching.
Yeah. So I want to hear your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts around creating happiness and culture and driving things that way? So
and I'm going to start off with this because I want to make sure everybody knows where I stand on that. Like 2021 is the first year that I'm super fucking happy with life. it's actually like it's my first year of of living, because for 5 years I was stuck in the grind so hard. Like back to the story, year 2, year 3, year 4, I was fucking answering phones at 9 p.m., 10 p.m. on the phone, role playing. You know, I was having dinner with my girls and my wife, and the phone would ring, and I'm fucking stepping out trying to close that $15,000-$20,000 deal. Like that has to be there too. But this year's the first fucking year I could tell you, like, I'm chasing 100% happiness, because if you're chasing the wrong intentions of your business, you're just trying to fucking become rich or become rich. Number one, you already lost. Like, that's all you're fucking, if you're obsessed with your business just because you're trying to get rich and just because you're trying to get all these things to show off to people, you already lost. The name of the game is to be happy, to be fucking happy, where those materialistic things, if they're there, cool. If they're not there, cool. That's where the fucking mindset should be. Like, I'm chasing happiness, homie. And my happiness doesn't have like, if I get to 100 mil, cool, man. Cool. If I don't get to 100 mil, trust me, I got a really good fucking life and a beautiful wife and 4 beautiful girls that I love, that are going to be there, whether the 100 mil was there or the 100 mil wasn't there, because they were there from day one. You know what I'm saying? So again, like, you should be chasing fucking happiness, and whatever that happiness is, fucking fall in love with it, because I love Nexgen, and my happiness is Nexgen, like being here, right? Obviously my family is the second phase of my happiness and where I want to be, but I genuinely love being in this office. I genuinely love having people here, talking to them about their businesses, dissecting it, helping them out whatever I could, introducing them to people that can help them. I love that shit. And if I love it, you can't beat me, because I already won.
Yeah. Well, and like, you know, the saying, money doesn't buy happiness, it just buys nice things. But you know, like Oreo cookies, for example, a nice jar with perfectly lined Oreo cookies. Which, if anybody's wondering, I saw your photo of your shoes that came in, and yeah, like, I think you had the shoes, you could see the watch, and then there's this jar in the background of Oreo cookies, and they're like little mini ones, and they're like perfectly stacked. And I'm reading the comments, I'm like, Oreo cookies, Oreo cookies, Oreo cookies. I'm like, fuck, I just want some Oreo cookies now. Damn it. I love cookies. But now I forgot where I was going to go. I got sidetracked by Oreo cookies.
I got something here.
But happiness. Oreo cookies make you happy.
Oreo cookies, make you happy, right? Which is, I mean, food just in general makes me happy, especially cookies.
Well, and it was funny. Jim Rohn had a quote where he just said, like, look, if I would have known what going for some of those early goals would have cost me, I never would have climbed that mountain. Yep. Right? More often than not, we climb a mountain, we go after a goal, and we look around when we've reached it, and we're like, is this all there is?
Yes.
This is what I worked my ass off for?
That is exactly what I figured out in 2021. I'm like climbing up this mountain. Everybody wants to, like, and then I get there and I'm like, holy fuck, nobody else is here.
Right?
You hit it spot on.
Well, and by the way, I have no doubt that you're going to hit 100 million. No doubt in my mind. Listening to the things that you say and what you're talking about, you will hit it. And it's
that dude on my side, I'm good. I'll hit it with that dude on my side. That dude, I'll hit it for sure.
Love it. So you've also talked a lot about legacy, right? And what you want to create, what you want to do. Also, you know, what you plan to do when you're done with your company, right? So like when you're at 100 million and maybe you don't ever want to, because you love going there. And I remember the thing that I was going to say was your office. I watched that video of part 1 of 2 of you walking around your office, and like you've created a fun and amazing and a winning culture there. And I mean, when you see your spread, I mean, you're in the penthouse, like that's a sick office. Like, you know, you've got a lot of stuff there. I can see why you've created that, and you're gonna have a lot of fun, you know, in there itself. But when you've hit $100 million, when you've removed yourself from your business, then what? What are you gonna do?
And I'll give you a quick story behind this too, because I was at a poker tournament like 2 weeks ago with Ara and Bahe and a bunch of the contractors, and it was like a little exclusive event. And he asked me the same thing. He's like, "Hey, Ismael, so you know, because of where we came from, and he's got a pretty cool background too. But he says, hey, like after all this is said and done, you get to 100 mil or 1 billion or whatever you get to, right? And Nexgen's all over California, all over the United States, how you want it to be. Like, what's after that? Like, how are you going to make an impact on life? Because right now you're just making it on a small sector. It's called air conditioning and plumbing, hopefully, right? And I had to think about it. I told him, look, dude, I don't have the answer right now, but let me think about it. And like, we finished the tournament, and I pulled them up to the side, and we were sitting with George Donaldson and Ara and everybody. And we're just, and he's like, and I told him, hey, I think I got an answer for you. After I'm done with all this shit, I want to go chase Ismael. I want to go chase the Ismaels out there. I want to go chase the Aras. I want to go find out where all the Aras, where all the Ismaels, like how we can get them away from that one direction that everybody goes through, whether it's college, selling drugs, hustling, whatever the fuck it is, right? And showing them the trades, because the trades saved my life. You know what I'm saying? Like the trades literally fucking saved my life. Because I was a hustler, right? And everybody knows what a hustle is, right? I was a hustler. Like 17, 18 years old, that's what I was doing. I was hustling. I was starting my HVAC career, but I was hustling on the side like mad, right? And I could have taken that route, right? But somebody pulled me to the side, right? And said, hey, this is a good job. You should dig into it. And I started like going through the trades and meeting all these fucking amazing fucking people, like smart, humble, like really, really good people. And my hustle, my ambition for the hustle that I had, like kind of faded away, right? And I started really loving the fucking trades. And guess what? If I would have never had that opportunity, if somebody didn't pull me to the side and say, hey, this is really good, you should get into it, I could have been hustling. Guess what? I probably would have been in jail. I probably would have gotten shot. Probably so many things could have happened that were bad. You know what I'm saying? So I want, like, after all this shit is done, I want to go and steer those people that are going that route, whether it's fucking getting in debt in college or hustling on the side or not doing the right things. I want to grab the Ishmaels and I want to put them on the right direction and introduce them this beautiful fucking industry called the motherfucking trades. You know what I'm saying? That's what I want to do.
No, that's yeah. Like when you do when you take what you've built and you do good with it, right? Philanthropy is a huge thing when you build wealth and you've built a business and you've built success. Well, don't just sit on the knowledge that you've gained. Don't just sit on the income that you've earned. Like, what do you like? You can't take your money with you when you die. I mean, yeah, you can pass it to your family, make sure that they're well taken care of. But, you know, I look at Bill Gates, right? And there's a few of them that have gotten together and I want to give majority of their wealth away to be able to do good with that. And that's a powerful, powerful, powerful piece. So
and you know what I want to do? And how we're going to attract these people, because I've already thought about this and I've had deep conversations with like really high level people like about this. Like, we got to let them know that we can get the Bentleys here too. We can get the Rolls Royce. We can have the Butlers. We can have the beach houses. We can have the flashy fucking shoes with the $100,000. Like, we have that here too. And that's the next generation of contracting is going to take place. I'm going to jump on social media not to show off. Like, that's why I have the Avenger group, not to show off. I want people, everybody out there, right? Because we have a shortage of labor. And it's because nobody's attracting those Ishmaels. Nobody's attracting those Aras. Nobody's attracting those people because they don't know that, holy shit, I could be a plumber and I could drive a Bentley. Like, I could be a plumber and I could have a fucking house in Back Bay. Like, holy shit. I didn't know that. That's why I never entertained it. Like, you don't have to be a ball player. You don't have to be a fucking lawyer or whatever the fuck you want. Like, you don't have to be that to create wealth. You can be a fucking plumber. There's plumbers in here that make $240, $250, $260 a year. Yep. And trust me, they're not in debt. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's what I want the world to know. I want to amplify the message. And by the amplifying, we got to show the flash. Like, we got to show the swag, because those are the things that catch their attention right now. And then we'll twist them around and be like, look, now it's a business. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So what you're saying is all those posts that you see HVAC pay for are actually legit.
Yeah. I was going to say, when are we going to start seeing those posts on TikTok?
Dude, I have a license plate getting done right now. It's going to say AC Money.
Nice. Ooh. Love it. There's your new TikTok handle.
That's golden. So we have this thing called the random question generator. I actually forgot that we pulled this question 2 weeks ago when we originally had you scheduled. And obviously when you're running a $60 million per year business, shit happens and you have to put out fires. So the random question, it's actually quite fitting because I was going to ask it earlier and then it got buried in our notes, but it kind of fits because you're talking about, finding the next Ishmaels and getting them, from whatever life they're in to the life they have there. So how is the social environment different for kids in school now than it was 10 or 20 years ago? So I'll repeat that one more time.
I love that question, honey.
How is the social environment?
That question.
It's a great question. So how is the social environment different for kids in school now than it was 10 or 20 years ago?
Two parts of this. Number one, they're fucking getting babied right now, like back in the day. And I mean 10 fucking years ago when I was in high school. Fuck, holy shit, no. It's been 15, 16 years that I've been in high school. Like, you know what the difference, the main difference is? That back then, like, you actually had to talk to people to know what was going on. Like right now, everybody, like you walk into a high school right now, homie, everybody's on their phone. Nobody even talks to each other. And that's how they communicate. Like they're posting on Snap, they're posting on Facebook, they're posting on TikTok, like they're posting everything that they're doing. Like back in the day, we used to like, hey, hit up this party. We're on the P line, right? Like, hey, like Fairview and Fourth, we're gonna be there in 15 minutes. Like, hey, got rated, go on the like we actually talked to each other. When we got there, we like enjoyed everything that was going on there. Like, dude, you go to a party right now, like kids party, and I'm talking because I've been there, right? Like they're on their phones. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? This is the party. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so how has it impacted?
You can make a total ass of yourself, and you didn't have to worry about it ending up on the internet,
right?
Yeah, man. Like it's impacted it way too much, like to a point where because everybody's stuck on their phone, we gotta find a way to communicate through these kids on this phone, and that's how we're gonna change the game by following what they're chasing. They're chasing attention on the phone. Cool, let's give them attention on the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. You actually remember when you said the party and you had to, to talk to people and like, I grew up in a small town, like 5,000, 6,000 people. And we had this thing called cutting laps where we'd actually drive up and down Main Street. Right. And we just circle laps. And when you wanted to talk to somebody, I had a cell phone when I was in grade 12. And I found it like 6 years ago, and I opened it up. I'm like, and I had the power cord and everything. I turned the fucker on. I'm like, let's see what text messages I had on here. I'm like, there wasn't even text messaging then. Right? And like, I'm talking, by the way, like 2002, 2003, but like, what is that?
Because you had to press the key like 3-4 times to get one letter.
T9 word, man. T9 word. I was a master at that when it came out. But like, we would have to literally like, hey, out the window with our hand to the person as we're passing by to pull over and say, hey, where's the party at? Okay, cool. It's going to be here. Spread the word. And like, I worked at the gas station. So people would come into the gas station like, hey, where's the party at? Oh, here. Because somebody would come here at like 6 and start it, right? So it's just like this old school thing that you are right. Gone by the wayside. So
they're missing the experience. They're missing the experience of high school. Like, dude, I could tell you one thing. The happiest time of my life was now. But if now didn't happen, it was in high school. I fucking loved high school. Like, high school was the shit. Number one, I was the coolest kid in high school. Number two, like, dude, we literally like, I still have a bunch of friends from high school, but like, people cared about each other back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Like, back in the day, people actually cared about each other. Now I feel like it's just this synthetic love everybody's chasing. You know what I'm saying?
They just want that click. They want the like.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, and it creates like the click and the like is, it's creating unnecessary, undue anxiety because they're like, oh, I put something up. I got 3 people that liked it. Oh no. And they start having this
I'm going to delete that post before anyone else sees it. Yeah.
Right? Like, fuck, how much shit do I put out on my profile? 1 like, 2 like, 1 comment, 3 comments. I don't give a fuck. You know what? Because I know that people are watching it. How I know people are watching is people message me and they tell me. Right. And like, you get the 1 or 2 messages here and there, and it's just like, okay, cool. You get the feeling. Don't worry about the likes. Don't worry about, the comments. Keep putting that shit out there because that people are going to watch it and listen and take notes of that. So that's a great answer to that. That social environment, huge thing.
So are we going to create like Ish's Promise or something like that and start signing contractors up to get to a certain level and start producing within the high schools, producing content about the lifestyle they live and shit like that?
Anybody revenuing 25 mil and up should fucking commit to recruiting for the trades as a mass. Like I want, like, and when I talk to like all these guys that like these high profile guys, the Lelands, the Ken Haynes, all those guys, that's what we're talking about, man. Yeah, I talk to them about the operation, how to tweak it here, how to tweak it there, how to gain a percentage here, gain a percentage there. But like I'm like my mission is to tell all these guys, put them in one room, right, and tell them, hey, we got to tell everybody in the motherfucking world what we did here. And start chasing because everybody wants to be the next Service Titan. Everybody wants to be the next Facebook. Everybody's trying to be working inside a high-rise building with the cool offices. Like, let's do that. Like, you're going to see my next building that we're going to have in Orange County. Like, the office, the in-house percent, high-rise, fucking high-tech, everything. And then we're going to have a shop for all our production. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, we gotta adapt to what people want. And 5 years from now, I guarantee you, nobody wants to be on a fucking cubicle. If you got a cubicle, homie, you're fucking way spinning. Like, nobody wants to be behind a cubicle chasing a phone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why if you go in the cube, there's an open area and everybody talks to each other. And I pass by there and I make people laugh and I put music in there so people can fucking enjoy coming to Nexgen, right? Because nobody wants to be behind a motherfucking cubicle, homie.
Yeah. Fuck, I hate cubicles. Hate cubicles.
Well, that's just it. Like, when you go out in nature, everything is round, everything is open, everything is vast. And yet we live in a box, we eat out of a box, we drive in a box. Everything is about this box squared off life. Right now we're talking on a fucking box, right? It's crazy. And that's what traps creativity. That's what limits the capabilities of business owners, of humanity. So
that's why I'm doing this podcast I'm doing it for you guys because you guys asked me to do it, and I appreciate you bringing it in me here. But I want one person to fucking see this podcast and be like, holy shit, you mean I could make $250,000 being a plumber? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I want. I want that one person to turn their whole fucking life around and come into the trades, get hooked on it, because to me it's like my heroin, right? I want to fucking work. I'm chasing 100. Like, I want that same addiction to a drug to be into the trades.
Love it.
Well, we're coming up on an hour here, so that we've had you on. So we want to respect your time, and I know you got to get back to running that business. So we got one last question here for you.
Yep.
What is one question you wish people would ask you more, but they don't?
What is one question when people come in here? I wish they would stop focusing on hey, what's my marketing spend? What's like how much you spend here? I wish they would stop asking that question, because I've told people a million times what works for Nexgen doesn't work for everybody, right? So I wish they would stop asking that one question, what's your best marketing source? Because they think they're going to go duplicate it and it's going to fucking magically you rain in millions of dollars. And I wish they would ask me more on like, how happy are people here? Like, nobody asks about like, hey, how, like, are your managers happy? Like how many managers have you had fired in the last month? Or how many CSRs quit? Or how many technicians have got like I wish they would ask for the culture-based side of the business more. They would focus more on like, hey, like, when was the last time somebody came in your office and said, hey, thank you for this opportunity? Like, I wish they would ask that, because literally every fucking day, and I don't get to say this enough, every day somebody walks in through that door, right? And they're like, hey, Ismael, I just want to thank you, man. Like, literally, like, I know you're busy and I know you're on the phone and like, I always see you like masterminding something. I just want to thank you. That's it. And then they close the door and they walk away. Perfect. Like, I wish people would have focused more on how happy are people here. And then when they see it, because then they get to see it when I drive them around and I show them around, like, they would focus on that. Like, make sure these people and your managers, your technicians, your sales guys, your installers, everybody, in-house person, everybody is happy and doesn't have to worry about how much money like they could make somewhere else, or how much money you're paying them, or should you be at, like, if you can take their attention from all the negativity and have them focus on number one, making sure that customer fucking experience is flawless. I wish they would ask that more. I wish they would ask more about like being happy.
Let me ask you then, how happy are your employers? How many managers have you fired? How many techs and CSRs quit? And you've already answered the other question of how many people walk through the door and tell you thank you.
Managers and executives, I haven't had anybody quit. And remember, it's a 5-year-old business, so our management team has been growing and growing because of obviously the operation. Managers and executives don't quit, and I'll tell you why. Because they came from another industry, they came from another company, and they see the fucking massive difference, right? And they see how much we appreciate them, how well we pay them, how we do things. And like, dude, when I tell you like, hey, our customer experience is fucking flawless, and I make sure that we make sure that our customers are our priority, like they know that too. You know what I'm saying? How many CSRs quit? One CSR quit. She got an opportunity. She was going through a nursing school, which is a huge mistake, but she was going through nursing school, went into a and got a job at a clinic or whatever. And I told her, I was like, man, you understand that there's like, you're gonna be that, like, that's it. Unless you go to doctor school and you get your to college and all that, you're not gonna become more than that. Like right here, a CSR could make 20, 25, 30 bucks an hour. A dispatcher could make 20, 25 bucks an hour, right? And then after that, you could get into your management levels and your executive levels. Like, I'll give you one example. Liz was my CSR 4 years ago. She's been here for 4.5 years. She was a CSR here. Now she's part of the executive team, right? Now we're talking salary. Now we're talking, she's able to take vacations. Now we're talking like, she's able to oversee that part of the business. Like that's what I want everybody to know. Like, hey, not just because you're a girl and you have to go to nursing school to make 20 bucks an hour. Like, dude, you could become a badass dispatcher, a badass CSR, a badass manager, whatever, a badass recruiter. Like all those things, you could do that for a company in the trades and make a shit ton of money. So to answer your question, how many CSRs? One left in the last year. Managers, nobody. Executives, nobody. Installers, we're constantly recruiting. If the only reason why an installer, a technician, or a sales guy would leave, sales guys, not one has left, by the way. Technicians, not one has left. Installers, a couple left because they were offered $12 an hour more.
Jesus.
Yeah, $12 an hour more. Which we had this conversation. The guy's a fucking idiot. He knows nothing about an operation and how to run a business properly. But you know what? Everybody's out for the grind, and I can't blame him because I dismantled his whole fucking plumbing department. And now he has no plumbers. You fuck with the bull, you get the horns, homie, right?
100%. So,
what happens when you fuck with the axe? Is there a saying for that,
dude,
or no?
Dude, let me rephrase this, dude. I'm the most chillest motherfucker you're ever gonna meet. I don't fuck with people. Like I know they gotta make a living. I know people's gotta grind too. Just leave me the fuck alone. I'm chasing, homie. Like I don't have time for distractions. Like I'm going 100 miles an hour. If I turn a little bit because you're trying to distract me, something could go wrong. Right? So just leave me the fuck alone and I go straight. I'm cool. I don't mess with nobody. I know where I need to be.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to get into that topic, but maybe that's an after hours conversation. So I did want to, and I almost feel remiss for not even asking the question earlier as we chatted about happiness. We chatted a little bit about, your culture and a little bit of your organization. And I know that we asked one last question and it usually sparks a few more questions on there. Not by intent. That's just the way that it rolls. What are some things that you have done to create the happiness and create the culture that you have at Nexgen?
You ready for this?
Yep.
I appreciate fucking people left and right. Like all day long, I tell them how fucking badass they are. I walk into a room, there's a meeting going on, and I interrupt the meeting just to say, hey, I just want to tell you how fucking awesome you are. Like I literally appreciate you being here, and people are just like, holy crap. And then I walk out of the room and they're like cheering for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when a technician does a good job and a customer put a 5-star review, I grab that 5-star review, screenshot it, send it to the technician. I tell him, hey, dinner's on me today. Shit like that, bro. Like all those little things that everybody, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, they forget that you got to be a motherfucking employee too. You are your own employee. You are their employee. You know what I'm saying? That's what people forget. You forget that those are your employees, right? Yep. And you work for them. I'm here. Dude, you walk around with me. Yes, I get on meetings for marketing, for financial, all that shit. Yes, I do all that shit. Like you walk here, bro, I'm like constantly cheering people up, fucking buying lunch for people, checking up on them, calling them out of the nowhere. Hey, I just want to make sure you're good. Is everything good? You're getting leads, you're making money. Oh, Ishmael, it's amazing. That's it. People forget, owners forget that those guys, those 281 employees that I have now, are the reason why I'm here. and never fucking take that shit for granted ever, man. Because the day that you start taking for granted is when you start bleeding. You start wondering, why are all my plumbers leaving? Why are all my CSRs leaving? Why are my management like, what the fuck is going on? That's because you forgot. You took your eye off the ball. And that happened to me once, and it'll never happen to me again, homie.
Love it.
Tony Robbins has a quote that my kids now repeat constantly because I always say it to them, and it's trade your expectations for appreciation and your whole life will change.
Yep.
Stop expecting.
I fucking agree with that. I agree 1 milli.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And anytime you get frustrated, it's because it's about you. It's not about them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, on the appreciation note, I very much appreciate you, Ish, taking the time out of your day to sit and chat with two crazy Canadians and spread the love, spread the wisdom, spread the knowledge to all. And, hopefully together we can all bring in the next badasses into the HVAC world. So appreciate you, my friend, and for all that you do in the world. So
if you guys just make sure everybody knows, if they want to get a hold of me, make sure you guys are on Avengers. If you guys need an intro in the DataCube, go on Avengers, talk about it. If you guys have questions about anything, like, by all means, I don't know everything, but I got a shit ton of contacts on my phone. Well, some very high skill people that know most of this.
100%. Thank you so much for shamelessly plugging yourself, because we normally shamelessly plug our guests, and we just dropped the ball and forgot. So to get in touch, obviously nexgenairandheat.com is the website. Again, these will all be at the bottom of the show notes. He has his Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/long-ass number. I'll put that in the show notes. Don't worry.
Search
Service of Avengers. Yeah, Service Avengers. Because if you just type Avengers, you don't, you'll get like the movie Avengers. So, anyways,
which Avenger are you, Ish? I gotta ask.
If I was an Avenger, I would love to be Iron Man, but I'm not that cool. I think I'm gonna be Professor X. He's like the mastermind behind everything. He's just the one in the back.
Dude. He's not an Avenger. He's X-Men.
He's part of the group, though. We're all in. He's trying to save the world, right?
All right, fair enough. We'll get
that's why it's Professor X on your name on the bottom of our StreamYard. So again, appreciate you taking your time. And until next time, guys. Cheers.
Take care, guys.
Hey, thanks for watching another episode of HVAC Success Secrets Revealed. Before you go, two quick things. One, join our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/HVAC Revealed. The other thing, if you took one tiny little bit of information out of this that was a golden nugget for you in your business, all we ask is for you to introduce this show to one person on your contacts list. That's it. That's all. One person. So they too can unleash the ultimate HVAC business. Until next time, cheers.